Her body was found hog-tied, injected, a plastic bag over her head. The police looked at all of that and still called it suicide. Before that day, Cindy James had reported over 100 attacks across 7 years. Strangled, drugged, stabbed, left for dead. And the entire time, the people who were supposed to protect her spent most of their energy trying to prove she was making it up. Forensic experts said the binding alone was physically impossible to do to yourself. The police called it inconclusive. The surveillance team watched her house the night she vanished. Nobody went in, nobody came out. They had no explanation for that either. Today we go through every piece of evidence in this case, and by the end, you'll understand exactly why this story has never let people go. Before 1982, Cindy James was exactly who you'd want living next door. She was a nurse in British Columbia, Canada. Calm, professional, respected. She'd recently divorced her husband, Dr. Roy Makepeace, a psychiatrist. A quiet, unremarkable split, or so it seemed. Then, in the spring of 1982, the phone calls started. Hang-ups, then silence on the line, then a voice. Her phone lines were cut. Her house was vandalized. One morning, she opened her front door and found a dead cat on her porch. She called the police. They wrote a report, and nothing happened. The attacks didn't stop. But within months, whoever was behind this stopped playing games. The harassment became physical. Fast. Cindy was found unconscious on her front lawn, a rope around her neck, hands bound behind her back. No footprints in the snow around her, no fingerprints on the door or gate. The police were baffled. But instead of looking outward for a suspect, they looked inward, at her. Therefore, a quiet theory started circulating. Cindy James was staging it herself. Their logic wasn't baseless. There was no clear suspect, no motive, no one with an obvious reason to terrorize a nurse in the suburbs. And the attacks had a pattern that bothered investigators. Cindy was always found, never killed. Hurt, sometimes seriously, but always alive. To some detectives, that felt controlled. But here's what that theory couldn't explain. One attack left a specialized knot around her neck, the kind that requires specific training. When investigators tested whether Cindy could have tied it herself behind her back, she couldn't. Neither could most of the officers who tried. Then came the morphine. During one attack, Cindy was found drugged. Blood tests revealed a morphine-like compound in her system, one that wasn't available in anything she could access through work. It had to come from somewhere else, from someone else. The police noted it, filed it, and kept their theory. The moment that should have ended all debate came in 1989, and it started with the police themselves. By 1989, the RCMP set up 24/7 surveillance on Cindy's home. Round the clock. Trained officers. Their goal? Catch her staging an attack. If she was faking it, they'd finally have proof. For weeks, nothing happened. Then, on June 8, 1989, Cindy James vanished. Here's what the surveillance team recorded that night. No one entered her home. No one left. Her car was still in the driveway. No signs of disturbance. Yet, she was gone. 5 weeks later, her body was found in an abandoned house roughly 5 kilometers away. Hog-tied. A plastic bag over her head. Injected with a lethal combination of morphine and a powerful sedative. The police, even after this, maintained their position. Somehow, Cindy had evaded trained surveillance, traveled to the abandoned house, injected herself, applied the plastic bag, tied herself, and died. There are 3 problems with that, and the third one is the one nobody talks about. Because what the forensic experts found when they examined that binding changes everything. 3 pieces of evidence, one at a time. The binding. Cindy was hog-tied, wrists and ankles bound behind her back. Forensic experts testified that this technique cannot realistically be self-applied. It requires a second person. Multiple experts independently reached the same conclusion. The police's response? Inconclusive. The injection. Toxicology found morphine and flurazepam, a powerful sedative, at levels that would cause loss of motor function within minutes. If she injected herself first, she couldn't have tied herself afterward. If she tied herself first, she couldn't have injected herself afterward. Either sequence is physically impossible. The ex-husband. This is the part most people don't know. Dr. Roy Makepeace, Cindy's ex, was a psychiatrist. And here is the detail that stops people cold. The theory the police used to explain Cindy's behavior, factitious disorder, the idea that she manufactured victimhood for attention, that diagnosis was shaped, in part, by Dr. Makepeace himself. He was consulted early in the investigation. He provided a psychological framework that gave investigators a reason to doubt her. The harassment began directly after their divorce. He had the knowledge to pathologize a victim's behavior. He had access, or could arrange access, to pharmaceutical-grade sedatives. He was interviewed. He was never charged. He was never seriously investigated on record. None of this proves anything. But none of it was properly examined either. Two camps, still divided. Camp 1. Cindy suffered a severe psychological condition that escalated for years. On the final night, she slipped past surveillance in a dissociative state and ended her own life. The binding and injection? Explainable, if you accept the premise, and then ignore the forensic experts. Camp 2. A predator with medical or tactical knowledge systematically destroyed her credibility so that when they finally killed her, the police wouldn't look twice. The surveillance evasion suggests inside knowledge, or a blind spot in the operation that was never admitted. One theory requires us to believe forensic experts were wrong about something fundamental. The other requires us to believe a killer outsmarted a police force for 7 years and was never caught. Neither answer is clean. That's the most honest thing you can say about the Cindy James case. This case isn't really about victim or fabricator. It's about what happens when a system decides which story is easier to believe and builds its entire investigation around that decision. If you have a theory, drop it in the comments. This is one I read every reply on. And if you want more cases where the investigation was shaped before the evidence could speak, watch this next. Because the Cindy James case isn't the only one, and the next story, the details are even harder to explain away. Drop a comment below. I read every single one of them. And if you're obsessed with true crime cases that challenge everything we think we know, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We have a lot more to uncover. Stay curious and stay safe.